Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning back into my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Boiling Spring. Charlie and I went back there this past weekend. As you can see from my raspy voice there, I had just gotten over COVID, but had some lingering symptoms. I'm not going to lie, there were some challenges that went along with still getting over it, which I'll talk about in a different video. But on this one, I wanted to focus on this site because it's so cool. That picture there was actually taken during our full cave class. This was one of the last dives that we did. I am very glad that we came here because I don't think I would have ever attempted a dive like this on my own had I not done it during training. As a matter of fact, the first time we went in there, I did not want to go back in, but I'll talk about that a little bit more later. This is about a 5 foot pool that's on the Big Piney River, uh, where the entrance to the cave is. It is located just west of Licking, Missouri. It's about 15 minutes from there. Every time we have gone down there, we stay in Licking, Missouri. It's a very small town. They have, I think, like 2 motels. We always have stayed at the Country Inn Suites. Don't let the name fool you. It's just a simple motel. It's inexpensive and it serves its purpose. So we always stay there, and they're always very gracious and kind enough to wake up at 2 in the morning when we get there to check us in. So, like I said, this is an enclosed pool. There are rocks behind me, and a pretty good flow coming out of the cave entrance. So, in order to get in here, you have to cross the river. There was pretty good flow that day, so that was a little bit of a challenge as well. Um, and it's cold. There was actually floating ice on the river when we were there. But once you get into this pool, the water coming out of there or in that pool section is all coming out of the cave system. So it was a balmy, like 40, like 50 degrees, 52 degrees, something like that. Um, Felt warm compared to the river. Um, but we're prepared for 50-degree water anyway. So it felt good. This is a map of the cave system. The entrance is on the right. And then the rectangular section is that line on the bottom left. That is the pit. I'll show you that picture again once we head down the pit. This is a side mount only cave system. And you're not going to get in there with back mount, even with back mounted 50s. It is really, really tight. You'll see in a couple sections of the video where I turn the camera around and video myself crawling through some of the tighter parts. And I also tried to capture Charlie going through some of the tight sections as well. It is not a very long cave system. To get to the pit, it's only probably 200 to 300 feet. I never really looked on the map. I just know it takes like 10 minutes to crawl my way back there. And then once you get to the pit, it opens up quite a bit. It was our first time going down the pit, so I didn't get any video going down. I wanted to concentrate on not destroying visibility and on keeping track of the line. So I got video coming out. I didn't get video going in. I did get as much video going in the shallow section and the tight sections as I could. Charlie and I would leapfrog. each other to try to get video of one another going through some of the tighter parts. But we'll see how it comes out. Hope you enjoy seeing this stuff. We enjoy doing these types of dives, as I've said in other videos. We could not wait to go back there. Oh, I'm having a free flow there. I don't know if you guys watched some of my other videos. Some of the caves that I went to right after getting certified on the Sidewinder were also very tight, and I kept catching my second stage on the ground, causing it to free flow, and that happened here as well. It's because the second stage just hangs too low below the tank. They're only little LP50s. I remedied that today. As a matter of fact, I custom made a bungee second stage retaining contraption. It is really, really tight on the tank now. So hopefully I won't have these issues anymore. But not a big deal. I turned it off. I moved the second stage, or I relocated it, and reopened the valve, and everything's fine. Good to go. This video was from Charlie's camera. It's mounted on his left hand, and because he has to use his hands to pull himself in, some of the video that he captured is a little bit jumpy, but it serves its purpose. This is back to my camera now. I stopped after tying off the line, which we tied off out in open water, and turned around to capture him working his way in. And like I said, we're going to do that multiple times here, leapfrog each other to try to get as much video of us getting through here as possible. There he gives me the okay, so I go ahead and start working my way down the cave. This is about as tall as it gets in there. I think at its tallest, it's probably about 3 feet, 3.5 feet, and then down to about 2 feet. Just enough for me to get my chest and be see-through. You'll see in the video coming up in a few minutes. It gets pretty tight at times. The good thing is that the bottom is this gravel, this broken up rock that doesn't silt up or cause a whole lot of silt to be thrown into the water as you're working your way through. And whatever does get stirred up tends to blow out pretty quickly. The cave system itself is there's no entrance fees or anything like that. It's, like I said, it's right on the Big Piney River. There's no one there checking cards, but this is definitely not a place you want to go to if you're not full cave certified, and it's not a place you want to go to if you're claustrophobic. It is again pretty tight in there, and you're crawling most of your way in until you get to the top of the pit where it starts to open up again. That day we had pretty good visibility compared to the last time when we came here to do our cave class. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already. And I'm not gonna lie, the first time I did it, first time I came in here, I did not care for it. It was not the type of cave diving that I envisioned myself getting into. Going through the TDI full cave training bookwork stuff, they talk about mainstream cave diving, and I think a lot of us get into cave diving with that in mind. We're going to go to these beautiful Florida and Mexico, cave systems that are crystal clear with very little flow. And it's just going to be a cakewalk and, just perfect conditions every time. And, plenty of room to move around, plenty of room to turn around, plenty of room to communicate with your dive buddy. And coming here during training really opened up my eyes to other types of diving, specifically, these tighter, harder, I guess more technical dives. But it's not for everyone. I've mentioned that in the past before. I know people who are cave certified that wouldn't care for places like this. I think Charlie and I are just a little different. We enjoy this type of diving, and we like to go see places that not too many people have been to. The cave systems tend to be much less disturbed. If you have seen any of my other videos, just look at the bottom of where we're diving below us. You'll see that there's a lot of divots and dents and stuff, and that's from other divers, either kneeling down or grabbing the ground or kind of disturbing the surface. And that's inevitable in the tighter stuff, but it really is unnecessary in the big open big open caves. It shouldn't be happening. But you see just how popular the caves are by, how much of that you see. There's quite a bit of divers that go through some cave systems, and it's evident in the caves themselves. Caves like these, most people don't even know where they are. If you are cave certified and you'd like to go dive this place, by all means. We love it. I think a lot of others out there will love it as well. If you're into this kind of stuff, ask your instructor or, through various cave diver only forums, and I'm sure this location will be shared with you, no problem. As far as I've debated about putting the locations in my videos, putting GPS coordinates, but the reality is that oftentimes people see stuff like this and they become curious and they don't have the proper training, and they go in there and get themselves in trouble. And very selfishly, I will admit, if somebody goes to a place like this and dies, it is very well possible that the county will shut it down or gate it off or make it inaccessible to certified divers. So again, a little bit of selfishness on my side, but I'm also looking out for people that shouldn't be there anyway. So if you are a certified cave diver, you probably have enough resources to find out where this place is. I've already told you the general area or location, so it wouldn't take much more digging to find out where it is. Highly recommend it if you enjoy this kind of diving. It is a lot of fun, and challenging, but very cool nonetheless. There are a lot of fish in here, which is very surprising to me. Was not surprising to our instructor who's been in here way more than we have, and she informed us that the fish go in here, especially during the wintertime, because the river water is so cold. The water in the cave doesn't change ever. It's always right around 50 degrees, 52 degrees, and they have made a home of it, I guess. Once we get to the pit, you'll see that it's kind of hollowed out in sections. It almost makes like little condos, little cubicles where the fish kind of hang out and make a home of it. And the first time we saw it, we thought it was really neat. It was like little individual, like, you know, fish tanks, little aquariums with various sized fishes, you know, in each one depending on how big the opening was. I wondered and asked how they could possibly find their way out, not knowing anything about caves and fish in caves. And here's one of the videos that I took trying to work my way through here. From chest to back, I am barely fitting through there. It doesn't last very long. It's only about 10, 20 feet or so. But very cool. Anyway, as I was saying about the fish, they just simply follow the current out. They can feel the current, and they, even though it's pitch black dark in there, they can find their way out. So here's a map of the pit. It's about 40 feet, I believe, 35, 40 feet at the top. And then as you start working your way down, it gets progressively deeper and further in. I didn't get any video on the way down. Look at, there's fish right there at 120 feet. That's 120 feet of depth. And we're about, I don't know, about 500, 600, 700 feet in. Starting to work our way back up the tunnel. If you do end up diving here, going down the tunnel, the line kind of crisscrosses back and forth. So be aware of that. Once you're down here, we were going to continue down a steep ledge or incline or decline, but the line had cut away, and it ended right as it started to get really narrow again, or really low. The ceiling started getting really low again, and I just, seeing the line all round, you know, all balled up because it had been pushed out after it tore off from wherever it was attached, and balled up in next to that one rock that it was still attached to just before going into that tight section again. It just didn't feel right, so we turned to dive there. I turned to dive. We do plan on going back and working our way back and running our own line, maybe reattaching the old line. But that was our first time making it all the way down the pit. I thought that was far enough. And then here's more fish. I think this is about 100 feet or so. Just fish everywhere. All kinds of fish. The funny thing is being on the rebreather, you know, we always heard, or you watch other videos of the pros and cons of rebreathers, and one of the big pros is that you don't scare away marine life the way you do with open circuit. And man, even knowing that, I was just so surprised at, like, they just do not even care that you're there. You're just another big fish to them or something. I have no idea. But I bumped into so many fish, and they didn't even move until I bumped into them. Or, you know, look down and they're like right underneath my chest. Didn't even realize they were there. And they could care less about my presence, honestly. But here we're working our way up. You saw the line kind of go from one side of the tunnel to the other and then wrap back around a big boulder or something. That's pretty much the whole line, from about 40 feet to about 110 feet. It's a little tricky to navigate, but the tunnel is, the pit is pretty big. It's plenty of room to descend, and not, not bump on anything or stir anything up. Which, again, there's not a whole lot to stir up anyway. But obviously, you want to try to avoid stirring anything up if at all possible. But you see, there is some silt, like right there. But for the most part, this is all pretty easy to navigate as far as causing any kind of silt outs or anything like that. At least that I could tell anyway. But obviously, all that dark stuff is some of it is silt, pretty fine silt, and it could cause a mess if you weren't careful. But here we're getting to the top of the pit, and you can see how the water is kind of carved out all these little divots and pockets in the rock and ledges and stuff, and the fish just hang out there, just hang out, oblivious of us for the most part. Oh, there's like those holes, like Swiss cheese holes, where there's usually fish just all swimming inside of those, which is really weird to see. We were super confused, and the first time we went down there, the fish were just hanging out in all of those little cubby holes. Tons and tons of fish, lots and lots of rocks. Really cool cave system. Can't wait to go back there. Really interesting. Like I said, when I first did the class and we went in there, we only went in as far as the pit, turned around at the pit, didn't even go to the top of the pit. We just kind of went to the entrance, turned around, came out, and I was I'd seen enough. I was done with going in there. But of course, we had to do at least one more dive to complete the task that we needed to do for the class. And so I grudgingly agreed to do it again. And it was really weird because the second time we went in, like, all that fear was gone. All of the anxiety was gone about crawling through these tight spaces. And I couldn't wait to go back in again. We actually ended up doing a third dive that just cemented my desire to do these kinds of dives. And ever since, a little over a year ago, ever since we went there, we just wanted to go back, and kept getting pushed back, or the scheduling didn't always line up, but we finally made it back there. I'm glad we did. Can't wait to go back again, because I want to go further in past that 120 foot ledge at 120 feet of depth that we didn't make it past. I think if the line is still wound up, we'll probably try to run our own line, or if it's not too tangled up, because it wasn't like tangled up, it was just balled up. Maybe we'll try to extend it back out there and tie it off again with something. But it was mapped out down to 155 feet, I believe, 158 feet or something like that of depth. So we were probably about 100. We're guesstimating between 50 and 100 feet from the end. Here, if you look up over my left shoulder, right side of the screen, you could see there was a bunch of bubbles coming or working their way out with the current. I had that free flow again from my right regulator in that tight section, and you can see I was shaking my head in frustration that it keeps happening. But like I said earlier today, before recording the voiceover of the video, I went and took care of that problem. So I shouldn't be having any more issues with that anymore. But made my way out of there, no problems. We're getting close to the exit here. As soon as I get to the reel that I tied off to the main line, I was waiting for Charlie to work his way out because I wanted to get video of him exiting, and he was doing the right thing by waiting for me and shining the light so that I could remove the reel. That's one of the things that's beat into our head is, diving in a team. The diver not responsible for retrieving the reel is supposed to light the way for the diver doing the reel retrieval so that you have good visibility. We eventually figured it out. I realized he was waiting for me, so I went ahead and grabbed the reel, shut my camera off for a minute so I could have both hands, and then followed him out and just kind of stood still and watched him exit. So it turned out to be a pretty cool video. You'll see the end there. Here he's waiting for me to go, again leapfrogging each other, which isn't common practice. Normally the lead diver stays in the front until you turn around, and then the lead diver becomes the back diver, the tail diver, and you each have specific jobs that you're going to do. In this case, and for this specific dive, we had talked about it ahead of time and agreed that we would leapfrog back and forth at each other's discretion, and wave each other by just to try to get different angles of video and as much video as we could. Charlie is going to post his own video. He's going to go through it and get the best clips that he can and put it all together to try to show another perspective, which is cool. I did use some of his video at the beginning and at the end, just because I very rarely get video of myself, but I thought it also kind of brought everything together and kind of showed every aspect of the dive from start to finish. Speaking of planning the dive, there is always a plan, and Charlie is a stickler about sticking to the plan, which I like, because you don't want to be second guessing each other. Being on rebreathers, both of us, we can communicate fairly well by talking, surprisingly. It's kind of strange, but you don't want to start changing things, when you're several hundred feet or sometimes several thousand feet inside of a cave, and now you're just confusing your dive buddy, and it not a good idea. So we always discuss as part of our pre-dive brief what we're going to do, how far we're going to go in, how deep we're going to go in most cases. And a lot of times our dive plans aren't so much based off of linear penetration, but time itself. because that's how we planned our bailout. That's how we did our gas management. You know, with a little bit of math, we can figure out how much gas we need at a certain depth and how long we can stay there um, before we we exceed the limits of our bailout gas. So depending on where we are, there's going to usually be a time limit that I set, generally based off of that. I talk it over with him. We work the math out together, and if he's happy with it and agrees to it, and is comfortable with um, the amount of cushion, I guess, if you want to call it that, that we give each other, because we never like diving, with very hard um, dive plans as far as bailout. We always like to have, a little bit of wiggle room, because you never know what kind of state of mind you're going to be in if you run into a situation where you have to bail out, or you have a major malfunction, or a CO2 hit, or what have you. You want to be able to account for a heavier breathing, um, um, just a emergency situation where you're not going to be as calm as you would be under that situation. So we discussed that, talk about what we're going to do, what we plan on accomplishing, and what we hope on accomplishing doesn't mean we always do. This dive here is a perfect example. We planned on making it down to 150 feet. I didn't like that the line was broken. Kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies. So you always go with your gut. That's what I say. And one of the hard, fast rules in diving is, anyone can turn to dive at any time for any reason. And Charlie is 100% on board with that. And when I mouthed to him, I didn't even signal. I said, through the rebreather, let's turn around. He immediately gave me the okay, and I heard him as well say okay. And no issues there. So here, after filming him exit, now I'm trying to work my way out while holding the camera as steady as I can, which didn't work out so well, because I'm also holding the reel in that same hand, and I'm trying to wind the line up without getting tangled. Fortunately, the current was keeping the line in front of me anyway, so it worked out well. And then here's an angle from Charlie's camera. Trying to work my way past all those rocks. I think I mentioned that earlier, but I'll say it again. This is definitely side mount only cave system. There's no way you're going to make it through there, through the entrance, much less some of those really low spots with anything on your back or your chest for that matter. So now there's like chest mounted rebreathers and stuff that are becoming pretty popular. Side mount only. You gotta like, some restrictions. You gotta like going through that stuff. You gotta be able to deal with some flow, because crawling in here was not easy. Once you're inside, I don't remember thinking it was too bad. It's once it opens up, it's pretty wide, even though it's not very tall in there. It is pretty wide, like 15, 16 feet in some sections. I don't believe it was ever so narrow that we could not turn around, even laying completely flat. But it is tight nonetheless. Here I am in the pool again, removing the line from the the piece of tree root that was sticking out of the side of the hill. You always want to tie off in open water, um, just because you never know. Um, you never know when visibility could go away. So you always want to have a continuous line to daylight. Here, generally, we will hang out and debrief on how it went. You'll see a lot of smiling coming from me. This was a very fun dive, very cool dive. I think all in all, it only took about 45, 48 minutes, something like that. Um, we had planned in about an hour, but we did not make it all the way to 150 feet. So it only ended up being like a 45-minute dive. I think it would have been closer to about an hour and 5 minutes, with a little bit of deco. But we only got down to about 115 feet, so no deco here. Hope you enjoyed. Until the next one.